It's time for another musical interlude. Let's get started. Talking with people with music in their genes, their blood, and in their soul. You are watching Musical Interlude. Hi, and it's time for another episode of Musical Interlude. I am your host, Casey Bell, and today's musical guest is Jacc Zalez. Let's take a listen at our interview together. When did you first begin to realize that maybe you wanted to be a part of the music business?
It's a good question because I started doing this way back in the early 90s. I've been doing it like forever, since my teen years. Before that, I was doing poetry. From poetry, I transitioned into rap simply because my peers were all doing rap and it was more easy for me to relate to them and them to me by doing rap. And I always had a love for music and a passion for writing. And I always knew that I wanted to do something with it. What I'm doing now is my day job was supposed to be my backup, but it became my prime um, my prime mode of earning a living. But music is always something that I always wanted to do. And just on 2019, I felt like, hey, I've been doing this for so long. They may have been missed opportunities. I was putting things up on the cloud, but taking them down, using other social media platforms. I'm not going to say anything because I'm not going to endorse any of them. But and I would get encouraging emails. Hey, this is great. Are you going to have more? Please send me more, and I will follow up. But the thing was that around 2000, around 9/11, around that time, I kind of transitioned from being mainstream to more inspirational, and there really wasn't a platform for it. And I found myself alone doing it most of the time. It wasn't until like the mid 2000s where inspirational rap, when I say inspirational, more Christian rap, became, started to get more of a foothold. Before that, there was only one group, one group. I walked into a bookstore and they were selling CDs and it was Cross Movement. And that was the only Christian rap CD that I could find. And I bought it. And I played it in my car for almost 4 years straight because it was the only one. They also had another one that came out, but I didn't buy that one. So I got tired of listening to it. So I'm like, I'm just gonna start recording my own stuff. I can't find anybody else. I'm just gonna start recording my own stuff. So I started recording my own stuff, going to the studio, and I would play it in the car, and people would be like, "Who is that? What are you listening to? Where did you get that from?" So it was completely different from what was being said at the time. So that kind of motivated me to just upload my music and share it with people. And I wasn't doing it for profit. I was just doing it for the love of it. But in 2019, I'm like, I've been doing this so long. People know that I do it. They like what I say, what I have to say, and I don't see myself ever stopping. So why not just do it for profit so I can earn something to put more into it so I can produce more and hopefully have other people join me in this endeavor. So that's what that's what I'm doing. That's why I founded Oliver Nation Entertainment. So I can just contribute to the catalog of music in the world, and I want to concentrate on beauty and inspiration and motivation and 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 really like just use it as a vehicle to exercise my love for music and rap and hip hop that I've always had.
Wonderful. So you've been doing it for a long time, but you're saying 2019 was the first year where you decided to actually do this, I guess you can say, as ministry. What will you say was the reason why it took you so long to do this? And what was the thing that made you decide to finally do it?
It's another good question. The reason it's something that I tried to do it, but the thing was that I had the mindset of, okay, I'm gonna do it on my own. All right, it's not really working out on my own. How about if I just uh, get a record deal or something. I tried for a record deal. Nobody really wanted. I wasn't thug enough, or there wasn't a platform for it. So I went like, all right, forget that. I'm just gonna go do what I'm doing. There was a lot of financial things that happened over the course, the stock market crash, the, my family, because I do have a family, and I didn't want to jeopardize my own family, you get me, for my own interests. So I kind of put everybody ahead of me, everything else ahead of my own dreams and my own aspirations. And, I love what I did. I love where I'm at, but I feel like if this is another facet of myself that I really have to express, to allow to grow also. And the reason why I decided to do it in 2019, I'm like, why not? I'm not getting any younger.
Right.
Why not just take a chance on myself? I took a chance on everybody else. Why not take a chance on myself and just do it professionally, not just as a hobby, not just as something that I'm putting out there for people to listen, but make it serious. Make it more serious, and that's what I've been doing. So I put out One God in November 2019. December I put out the Christmas. I wanted to end the year kind of on a high note because I'm sorry, it wasn't 2019, it was 2020 that I put out One God. And the reason why it took me so long was because I got sick and then I injured my throat. And then the whole thing with the COVID happened and all of the studios were locked down. Nobody could do anything. And the reason why I injured my throat is I came down with laryngitis, and then I tried to communicate, and then I injured my larynx while trying to do it. So I was very raspy, kind of hurt. And actually, the hook for One God, I did while recovering from that injury. I just had a bout of insomnia. I set up my recording equipment, I put it out, and I didn't have a hook for it. And I'm like, it's been a while. I think tonight's the night. Tonight's going to be the night. So I sat down. I thought about it. It was like 8 minutes around there. I came up with a hook. I recorded it. I'm like, that sounds pretty good. So I kept it. I rode with it. And what you hear is what you get.
Since you're on that topic, tell us about One God, the inspiration behind it, and why you wrote it.
Oh, it was first of all, it was made to be a live performance track. I had people come up to me and say, hey, we're going to have a youth rally. Can you write something for us? For the kids, for the teenagers, for the younger crowd, because they were into more hip hop. So I went ahead and I did it. I wrote it, and it's a story of perseverance and just determination and going against the currents and by faith overcoming. That's what it is. And that's what I felt like basically throughout this journey. It's just there's a lot of negativity out there. You're going to run across a lot of friction. Sometimes you feel like if you're running against the grade and there's nothing, support you to fall back on. But, there's always God. You got to keep that faith, and there's nothing greater than He is. And He will guide you through the storm, through the fire, and allow you to be better than when at the other end than when it is when you went into it. So that's basically it. Just strength and perseverance and endurance.
So
through faith.
Cool. So going back to, you said you started out in the 2000s. So today you produce two tracks, and it's easy today because thanks to YouTube University, you can learn anything. But when you were starting out, you said you were trying to look for a record company back in the 2000s. How did you even know where to look? Because I guess there may have been books out there, but most people had no clue how to even begin to step into the music industry. So how did you start, and what not? This is for people who may be watching who still don't know what to do, how to do. What were how did you start? How did you begin? What did you start doing to actually get yourself out there?
Well, basically, first of all, it's just performance, live performance, getting your name out there locally. That's what I did. As far as what happened in the 2000s, that's a whole different genre. I mean, you didn't even have the internet. I mean, it was basically word of mouth and looking up directories, dialing up some phone numbers, putting EPKs together, some demos, and just sending them out to people or by email. And that's the way that it worked that I knew of at that time. But now, I mean, the world has changed. You have all of these streaming platforms. You almost don't even need a record deal, you know. And the reason why I kind of wanted a record deal towards the end of the 2000s was because it was so difficult to do it prior to that on your own. I remember in the early 90s, in the mid 90s, me and my friends, we were like, you know, Wu-Tang did it this way. You know, why can't we do it this way? You know, other people did it this way. Like, just make copies of your tapes and start selling them out there. And we were doing that. We were just selling them out there. We would go to the mall. Most people just wanted to have a conversation with you, you know, at that time. Oh, you rap? Where do you rap? Can you come rap for us? But, well, yeah, we were selling them at the malls. We were performing live places, and there were interest. I mean, I was getting phone calls from certain record companies at that time. It didn't pan out, but that's basically the way you do it. You just perform, you stay true to it, you keep writing, you get your name out there. That's how it was back then. But now you take all of that and you can even go out and make your own music in the studio or home studio and just get a distributor, put it in Spotify, Apple, wherever, and just keep it going. Now, I only have 2 tracks so far, but I have many more that are coming. I'm about to drop another single, and then after that, perhaps I'll just concentrate on getting the album out. I wanted to build up at least some critical mass before putting out more music, and I believe that I'm there where I can put out some more music and direct more attention to anything else that I may be doing further down the line. So I got another single coming out. It's going to be completely different from what you heard, but it's beautiful. It's going to be great. I think people are going to love it.
You know, with YouTube, there's a lot of artists talking about their experience with record companies and how generally you don't really make any money. And are you happy now that you decided to wait to do it yourself, knowing that music industry is not as glamorous as they paint it to be?
Well, I've always had a fervor for wanting to do it myself in the early 90s. Now, there wasn't, well, for what I was doing, there wasn't a platform and there wasn't much interest for it. But towards the end, I remember it was 2014. I was trying. 2014 was the last year that I tried to get a record deal. It was like from 2009 to 2014, and I'm like, I even reached out to some mainstream people, and I'm like, I'm not gonna name any names, and I'm like, what am I doing? You know, like I don't even, you know, I've been trying to get a record deal from Christian labels or Christian-based labels, or this time they're not having me. They don't want anything to do with hip hop, really. You know, so I turned my attention to some other mainstream, and I'm like, what am I doing? They want me even less. So I just started just uploading on my own. But I didn't copyright anything at that time. And the stuff that I put up has become compromised. And I didn't find out about that just recently. When I wanted to reuse one of my old beats, I mean, I didn't copyright it or anything. And then I find out that somebody had snatched it long ago. And I'm not just talking about the chords. I'm talking about the instrumentality, the arrangements, all of the parts that I wasn't rapping over. They just snatched it. And I'm like, you know what? everything's going to be protected. Make sure you copyright.
Yes.
Definitely protect your stuff. I wasn't thinking in those terms when I was uploading, because I was thinking in the terms of having a place where people can go to and check me out, rather than, because they weren't accepting any MP3s, they weren't accepting any CDs, no submissions. They wanted links to your music to a verified platform. So that's what I was doing. I would just put it up there and have these labels go and check me out over there. So the thing was that it was open to everybody else in the public. So I left myself exposed there. So in a way, it kind of validates that I was kind of on the right track. But in another way, you feel like, what the heck, it's like violated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Always
but I learned my
copyright.
lesson. Yeah, always copyright, always protect the material, and just take it serious. This is more than a hobby. This is a love and a passion. There's a lot of emotional, financial, and psychological investment that goes into this, and you just have to be prepared to protect yourself, protect your investments, and just keep putting stuff out, keep writing, keep the faith, keep hope alive.
All right. So my last question I have for you is a fun question. If you could collaborate on a track with anyone, and they don't have to be alive, that you admire or you respect their talent, who would it be?
All right, I'm not going to name anybody that I grew up listening to, or anybody that has since passed. I want to name somebody new that just, it's kind of like on this almost on the same wavelength as I am, and that would be Coda the Friend. I recently just came across his music, and I'm like, man, this guy really got skills. I'm really digging his music. So if I could collaborate with anybody right now, it would be with Coda the Friend.
If God is for us, no one can stand against us.
One God that created all. One Lord, won't you rule it all? One Ghost, He connects it all. One faith, will renew it all. One God that created all. One Lord, won't you rule it all? One Ghost, He connects it all. One faith, will renew it all. One God that created all. One Lord, won't you rule it all? One Ghost, He connects it all. One faith,
Will renew it all.
all of the glory belongs to the Lord. No other is worthy of worship and praise. All who be baptized in water be saved. Reborn in the Spirit and given His name. To sin in the grave, I'm no longer a slave. Word of my God is anointing my faith. Whenever I pray, I'm renewed in His grace. Tested in flames, I'm reflecting His face.
Tongues that rise up, they shall fall in His shame. The Lord is my food as I walk in His ways. I'm brave in my pace, His word I obey. I give Him a voice when I quote what it says. Evil is slain, tasting the strength of His blade. Capture the soul that remains. I'm watching His name, hands fully raised, giving Him praise as I conquer.
Lord and the Spirit are one and the same. I live for His glory by spreading His fame. Not serving the Lord will be living in vain, misusing His name. So I proclaim Him in all of my ways. He orders the steps that I take. His children you never forsake.
That is all the time we have for you today. I would like to thank our guest, Jacc Zalez, for joining me, and of course the audience. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Have a great day.